I thought he was extremely egotistical, just very, very arrogant, very flamboyant, and probably gay. When I first saw Donald Trump, I thought almost the exact same thing. Good morning. What a beautiful day it is. Let's walk and talk. I want to tell you a little story about how I met my third NA sponsor, a man who truly saved my life. I met him maybe 16 years ago when I first moved to California. My brother had surprised me by saying he was also in Narcotics Anonymous. So when I moved out to California, my brother was taking me to a lot of meetings. And I eventually met his sponsor. And when I first met this guy, I thought he was extremely egotistical, just very, very arrogant, very flamboyant, and probably gay. Not that, that's a negative judgment at all. But once I got to know this man, I realized he is by far one of the more humble, selfless, and I don't know, he changed my life. So this man ended up becoming my sponsor, and he took me through the steps about 12 times. He was my sponsor for 12 and a half years. And the reason I'm telling you this story is I wanted to tell you why I voted for Donald Trump. You see, I grew up with a Democratic mom and a Republican dad. My mom was a teacher. My dad was the co-founder of one of the world's largest credit card companies. So as a kid, I was pulled in both directions. But by the time I was 18 and able to make my own decisions, I voted Democrat all the way up until Donald Trump. Donald Trump was the very first Republican I've ever actually voted for. And I use the air quotes because I don't think Donald Trump is Republican. I think he's very much more centrist and more aligned with what the Democrats used to be about 20 years ago. But technically, he ran as a Republican, and I voted for him. So why this relates to my former NA sponsor, when I first saw Donald Trump, I thought almost the exact same thing about when I met my my third sponsor. When I saw Donald Trump come down that elevator, yeah, he had a lot of ego. When I heard him speak, yep, very arrogant. When I noticed he was autistic, that got me thinking, because that was like, here's a guy who's a businessman, marginally successful. He had a lot of help from his dad, but he did well with that help. And, like it or not, he kind of transformed the world of real estate, especially in New York. So anyway, very, very intelligent businessman. So I'm thinking to myself, if this person can run for president and win, just about anyone could. I always thought in order to run for president, you had to be handpicked by the elite. Watching Bernie Sanders run, watching Ross Perot run, and now watching Donald Trump run, these are wild card people you never expected to win, and Donald Trump did. So I respect that. And of course, I voted for Donald Trump. I did not vote for Joe Biden, and I voted for Donald Trump again. I feel very good about that decision. So far, I know there's been a lot of hate towards the MAGA movement, but that particular brand of hate only has about 27% national support, while Donald Trump's numbers just keep getting bigger. So I don't think it's about choosing sides. I think it's about what's the best direction for the country we all live in. Personally, I think Donald Trump is taking the United States in the correct direction. I'm sure some of you watching this will disagree, and I'd very much like to disagree with each other so we can disagree with each other without being disagreeable. I wanted to let you know why I'm voting Donald Trump and eventually JD Vance. So please like, subscribe, leave your comments down below. This is just a quick walk and talk with Tim Smith. Thank you so much.